Still rocking after all these years.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
This is it, the show that started it all. Often imitated, but never equal. From San Francisco, USA. Online since 2004. It's the one and only Rock and Roll Geek Show. With the original Rock and Roll Geek, Michael Butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today is Thursday, October 12th, 2017, when I'm recording this show, and it is 7:16 p.m. And if you hear some noise in the background, it's because I got a couple of guys on from Australia. These guys, one guy's name is Alex. Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Hey, Michael, good.
Alex is all the way in Melbourne, Australia. Now, Alex is in a band called IDunnö, who I played on the Rock and Roll Geek Show before, and he was a generous co-host donor. I don't know if you noticed, but there is a level of donations on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. You can just be a regular donor and you get thanked and loved by your friend Michael Butler. And there's also levels of donations where you can donate $100 and you can be on the Rock and Roll Geek Show and co-host the show with me. That is what Alex did. There's also others. If Alex was in town, he could have donated more and I would have bought him dinner. I would have made him dinner. He could have crashed at my house and I'd have supplied him with all the Tecates he could drink while we're doing the show. So next time you come to San Francisco, Alex, you ever been to San Francisco?
No, I haven't. I heard it's very beautiful, but that could get very messy.
What's that mean? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes. So Alex was a generous donor. He donated $100, and if you're in a band, hey, what better way to spread a little bit of payola and play your music than to be a generous donor of the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I can't think of a better way. Can you, Alex?
No, not at all. $100 across the bar is also a good investment.
Yeah. I don't know how this is going to sound because I've never done a co-host thing all the way from Australia. I've got to get to Australia, too, because I haven't been there, and I've been meaning to go there. I got a lot of friends there, including Alex.
Yeah, we'll show you a great time when you get here. Don't you worry about that.
Melbourne is home of. Let's see, who is from Melbourne? Is Living End from Melbourne, or they're from Adelaide?
Yeah, no, Living End are from Melbourne. Just most of the bands that you'd probably be familiar with have spent a lot of time in Melbourne touring here over the years. Like, for example, when AC/DC got started, they spent a good year here playing the pubs and clubs.
But they were from Adelaide, right?
Well, they were from Sydney originally,
okay.
And Bon Scott was from Perth via Adelaide, but they all spent a lot of time in Melbourne. You may remember the clip "A Long Way to the Top" if you want to rock and roll.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that one on the back of the truck?
Yes, when he's playing, he's acting like he's playing the bagpipes.
Yeah, that was filmed in Melbourne at that time when they were playing the pubs and clubs in Melbourne. So that's a street in Melbourne, although it's a lot more developed now than what it was then. You can still sort of see it when you go there. When you come over, I'll show you, and you can visualize being there in 1976 on the back of that pickup truck.
There's a lot of friends of the Rock and Roll Geek Show who are in Australia. There's a guy named Eddie M. I think he might be from. Do you know Eddie M? Edwin Meadows?
No, I don't know.
Do you know the Sebas Rockets guys?
No, don't know them either.
They're from Australia. I'm not sure where. I think they might be from Adelaide.
Adelaide, right? Okay, yeah.
Do you know the Divinals were from Sydney, right?
They were, yeah.
What about Rose Tattoo? They're from where are they from?
Well, they originally Angry Anderson played in a band in Melbourne called what were they called? This was before my time, but he played in a band in Melbourne with Phil Rudd from AC/DC.
Oh, okay.
And that was Buster Brown, they were called.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay, right. Yes.
They were long gone before we came on the scene, but they then moved to. Well, he moved to Sydney, and that's how Rose Tattoo got started. It was basically out of Albert's in Sydney, which was Albert Records, which had, had all the classic.
They had the Angels, they had AC/DC, they had Rose Tattoo, they had, of course, the Easy Beats.
Yes, and they had a few others, and they Choir Boys, I think, was another one that was early on there, and that was a real by the time Dino and I were sort of teenagers coming onto the scene, we would go to record stores, Michael, and there would be these great records, and that scene had already passed by the time we came along. We were on the end of what was known as, when we were growing up, was Australian pub rock, which was huge back in the day, and every bar, every hotel had bands playing every night of the week.
How
You
old
could
are
go
you?
anywhere.
How old are you?
I'm 45.
Oh, okay. You're still a kid.
Yeah, I'm just a baby. But when we came on, Dino and I came on, they were there was the scene was just at the end of that great era, and those bands, the ones that were really only touring then, was like still was like Angels was sort of like one of the last ones from that era, but that already peaked like 10 years before we were getting into music, and it must have been an incredible scene with AC/DC, Angels, Rose Tattoo, playing every weekend, and Cold Chisel and Midnight Oil, and all these bands that some got famous in the world, others for other reasons, whether it be poor management or just out of sync with style, never got so big internationally. And like, as you know, and I know you are, we're huge fans of Angels or Angel City, and they were massive here, but outside Australia, I'm not really known at all. But yeah, AC/DC, who are obviously massive here, became massive everywhere.
Well, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, on the east coast of the United States, and there was a radio station when I was a kid, it was probably 77, 78. They are the ones that broke AC/DC in the United States, and when Bon Scott died, they played a band called Angel City out here. They were called Angel City here, but the word Angels there. They were the first radio station to play Angels. They also played a band called the Skyhooks all the time.
Oh, yeah, great band.
I saw Skyhooks open for Uriah Heep on that tour. Ego Is Not a Dirty Word was the album that was out.
Really? Wow, that's was that a great concert?
Oh, it was They were so much better than Uriah Heep. They were so good. They blew everybody's mind. Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if you know Jacksonville, but it's the Deep South. We're home of Leonard Skinner and Molly Hatchet and a lot of rednecks, but they embraced the Skyhooks for some reason. Even though Skyhooks, you would think the Skyhooks would not go over well in a redneck territory, but everybody loved them. And
I mean, they and in fact, it's funny you should mention that. I was playing some music with my son the other day, and I said, "Look, you got to listen to this song." And do you know the song "Women in Uniform"?
Yeah, that's on. Is that on "Living in the '70s"?
Yeah, I think it was came a bit later. It had Bob Spencer on guitar on that one, who I know you've also interviewed, and that's a great song. I love that.
Bob Spencer was in my favorite era lineup of the Angels, actually, around Live Line.
Oh,
that is a great
album.
live
That's a great
album.
tour.
Well, anyway, I have the Cheryl biography of Cheryl Strachan from Skyhooks. I'm in the book.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
really.
The guy mentions because I interviewed the bass player for Skyhooks. What was his name?
Greg McNash.
Yes, Greg McNash. Yes, and it talks about my interview with him on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. So that was pretty cool.
Oh well, we're in good company, Dino.
Yeah, no, very good, mate.
Hey, Dino. Dino, how you doing? Nice to hear from you. By the way, Dino's also on the line, calling from his car. You driving to work? Dino.
It's the middle of the day over here, so middle of the day here, Michael. So working, trying to earn a living during the day because music doesn't pay enough.
What do you do for a living?
Engineering sales, mate. Very boring.
Engineering you sell engineers. What kind of engineering sale? What's that entail?
I work in it's petrochem industry, so control instrumentation.
Huh, that tells me nothing.
I'm trying to keep it simple, mate. Like I said, very boring.
You sell something to do with gasoline.
Oil rigs and refineries.
Oh, okay. You sell stuff to guys that work on the oil rigs?
Correct.
You have to call people on the phone and cold call them and say, "Hey, man, I'm trying to sell some oil rig supplies."
Not a cold call, mate. We've got a pretty good product, good installed base there, so they're calling us.
Oh, all right. I'm calling. So, what's the name of the company?
Oh, look, I work for a company called WPC.
Hello, WPC. This is Michael Butler. I have an oil
There we go,
rig.
shout out.
I have
But
an oil.
more interested in the music, Michael. Just one I was going to touch on, Alex. Women in Uniform, I made and also did a cover of that back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah, they did too.
That's right.
Yeah.
You are correct. I forgot all about that. Who would have thought Iron Maiden would cover Skyhook? See?
Yeah.
So hello.
Yeah, no, they're big. Sorry, Michael. They're a big Melbourne band, Skyhooks, back in the day. Very, very good band, underrated. But yeah, the Iron Maiden cover was, like I say, an odd choice.
Terrible.
I'm thinking that Skyhooks was well beloved in Melbourne.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. The guy, Shirley Curl, who was the singer,
Yes.
Shirley Strawn,
Yeah.
he died in a helicopter accident about 10 years ago.
Yep, sucks.
Maybe a bit longer now.
Sucks.
Yeah, and when we were kids, he had a TV show. After he was in Skyhooks, he left and he did a TV show that we used to be on every day after school.
What about Red Simons, the guy who dressed in mime makeup?
Yeah, he's gone on to have a successful media career, and he's on radio every morning.
Oh, really?
He's got like a radio show.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
ABC Radio. So a lot of the a lot of the baby boomers love listening to him in the morning, and he's got his sarcastic approach to life, which it makes him endearing to the people listening. You're not going to get a boring type of.
Oh, that's good. What kind of music does he play on that station?
I don't think they really play music because I think the people are too old to listen to it
it's
to
a
really
talk station.
hear it. So it's no point really playing it.
He does. It's just talk.
Yeah, it's like talkback, like talkback and social commentary.
Oh, okay.
It's like a morning show.
Oh, okay. He does
It's on a serious government station,
Oh, politics and stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. In social issues, it's popular though. Like, I don't listen to it, but he'd probably have like 20% of the radio audience listening that morning. That's how popular.
Did people
it is.
ever call? Oh, you don't listen to the show. I was wondering if people call and talk about Skyhooks.
Yeah, they do. I think he talks about it as a bit of fun that he did in his youth, and that he's not. I don't think he's really into music that much himself now. I could be wrong, but that would be my impression.
So Dino sells stuff to oil rigs and people like that. What do you do for a living, Alex?
I got an IT company called Webtron.
Oh, okay.
And so we help businesses online. So basically, make them help try and make them more successful online. And I've got a great team that works around me, so I'm quite lucky that way.
Do you help people connect on Skype?
No, no, I'm pretty hopeless with that. It's the people that work for me that are clever ones, Michael.
Okay, because Alex and I'm joking because Alex has been trying to call me on Skype for the past 20 minutes now.
That's right. Luckily, it's not one of the services we offer.
Good. So, Dino, where do you just drive around all day and call and talk on the phone, or are you driving to the office?
No, I normally go out to customer sites and go out and have a look at their applications and try and come up with solutions for them.
So I have an oil rig here in San Francisco. I need some help. What would you do if you came over to my oil rig?
I'd come out and find out what your problem is, and we'd come up with an engineered solution for you.
You have a boat, or they pick you up on the boat?
Take a helicopter.
Yeah, I used to fly out on helicopters.
Oh, so are you flying a do you know how to fly a helicopter?
No, they fly me around, but these days it's all most of the engineering is done out of city offices and places like that. So probably in your neck of the woods or over in the States, I'll be heading to Houston, I think.
Oh, you just come to okay, yeah, because that's where the oil rigs are outside of Houston. Are you afraid of flying in a helicopter? I would be.
Oh, no, not really, mate. It's just, you just get out there and do it, mate. It's pretty boring after a while. The first few times, the novelty wears off pretty quick.
You better be careful. People die in those helicopters all the time, man.
Yeah, like Shirley Strawn, yeah.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
Mm.
Was he flying out to an oil rig? What was he doing?
Well, I think he flew into the side of a mountain. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, you better. You better be careful, Dino.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. I'll remember that next time I'm going out.
That's one
I think most of Dino's business these days done over a liquid lunch. isn't it?
That is one way for IDunnö to become famous. For
Yeah, or it's yeah, I guess so.
I think we're making a bit of infamy over here for all the long reasons though.
All right, you're the guitar player, Dino.
Yes, Michael.
And what do you do in the band, Alex?
What do I do? Well, I'm the lead growler.
You're the singer. You the guy with the eye patch on the.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you blind in one eye, or are you just wearing the eye patch because it looks cool?
Yeah, it was a Tasmanian devil took my eye out.
Really?
One time, so I need to cover up. No, not sure at all. I actually, it's a stage gimmick.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually have an eye condition where I actually can't really see out of that eye very well, and for some reason it actually helps. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of, we played our last gig and there was people there with eye patches in the audience.
Oh, cool.
So
Awesome.
Go figure.
There you go. It's a fashion statement. Are you able to drive with an eye? Are you able to drive with an eye patch on?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Surprisingly, I can do it for some reason because I've got that eye condition. It actually doesn't affect me. I can walk around, no problems at all. It's fine.
Do you only wear the eye patch on stage?
Yeah.
You married?
Yeah.
Wife probably thinks that's pretty sexy to have an eye patch.
Well, she doesn't really like our music.
Oh, really?
And
why doesn't she like? I would imagine that women all around would love your music.
Well, not your wife. Like I think when you've got a title like "Pissed Off and Married."
Yeah, I want to play a little bit of Pissed. So I'll play a little bit of IDunnö for people. This is why
it's humor, by the way. You get it. It's humor, by the way. Yeah. I
get it. Does the wife get it? That's what I want to know.
No, it took 3 months of no cooked dinners.
Oh, really? I'm gonna play a little bit.
I've had lots of girls come up and tell me that they're also pissed off and married. So I think it goes to both sexes.
Exactly. But
playing our last gig, Michael, and we were after the gig. We're like, it's funny. Like out of all our songs, that would be our money song because
that's the hit.
When we because it's got us known, and like we wouldn't have been playing any gigs or had anything if it hadn't been for that song. But someone overheard it one day and said, "Would you put that on iTunes so I can buy it?" We said, "You're kidding." He said, No. And the actual song came about. Dino was over at my place and we were in my garage and we'd been jamming on all these songs that never went anywhere for hours and hours. And then, by the end of the night, the copious amounts of beer had been drunk. I started just humming to a song and doing something. And Dino came back in and he said, "Oh, it's good. Can we work on that?" And the next day, after a massive hangover, Dino said, "That song's really good. Let's do it." And I said, "I got no." Well, Dino, you might like to take the story up from here, but basically, I didn't remember the song. So, Dino, you might like to just add in the rest.
Yeah, look, but basically, I tend to record everything we do and come back later on and go back if something sounds good or bad the next day. But
exactly.
Alex had partaken in a fair bit of alcohol and whatever else the Lord knows, and couldn't remember the song. So I played it back to him and said, I quite like this thing. There's something there with this song. And as he said, he basically couldn't remember it, listened to it back and reminded himself about the song, and it sort of took off from there. So we ended up doing another recording of it and had a producer play around with it a bit and try and polish it. He played it back to me, the end result, and I sort of said, it's not as good as what it was. So we ended up putting out on iTunes is the actual raw demo recorded in the garage that night, written and finished in about all up 20 minutes. But it had something about it which we couldn't reproduce in the studio later on. It just lost its raw edge.
Yeah, you can't polish a turd. I think that's what you're trying to say.
I'm gonna play "Pissed Off and Married." Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here is.
Yeah, go for it.
How you pronounce the name? Just IDunnö.
Yeah, what's your band name? I don't know.
There you go. Clever. And it's got the umlaut, so people might think you're like Motley Crue.
Too much time on our hands.
Exactly. All right, here's "Pissed Off and Married" from IDunnö.
Got myself a woman. Got myself a house. Got myself a car. I look like I got it all going on. Pissed off and happy. myself a new woman. Got myself a new house. Got myself a new car. Things will be different this time. Pissed off and married. Pissed off and married. Pissed off and married. Pissed off and married. Nag, nag, nag. Nag, nag, nag. Yeah. Nag, 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 nag. Nag, 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 nag.
There you go. So when you recorded that in the band room. That's the recording from band practice.
In my garage, yeah, one take.
So how did you like put a mic on all the drums and then mic all the guitars, or did you just put a microphone in the room and?
No, we just used we just had a mic in the room, and apparently it wasn't even the right mic that we used and stuff. But we just did. I think I had an SM58, and Dino plugged straight into a MacBook, and away we went.
Oh, nice. Okay.
We lined out on the guitar amp was line out, and then some mics and bits and pieces. So yeah, pretty rough and raw.
So we're taught from the ground up ourselves. Like we didn't really. I guess like we're not coming from like a professional musician's background. We're coming from a real punk thing. Just do it ourselves and learn as we go.
Yeah.
And as Dino said, when we later went to the studio to re-record it with the producer and that, it just sounded terrible. So we just released the one-take demo from the garage. And it shocked everyone because people were like, how can you do that and stuff? But the funny thing was, it sort of got us going, and it's led us on this sort of journey that we've been on. And we just recently played a gig, and it's so funny. And you can look on YouTube for yourself. But when we play that song live, people, whether they're 14 years old or 60, come running over to the stage and start fist pumping and singing along to it. And it's what's really weird is that's a song that people hear once and then they demand that we play it again. So it becomes like our encore. And because we say, what song should we play? I've got one more song. And everyone shouts out, Pissed Off and Married. Now, it's not just guys. These women love it. And the last time we played the gig, the bar staff, who were these girls at this club we were playing in Melbourne in St Kilda, they came and said, we really loved that song. And when I was leaving the venue with our mics and our guitars, they were singing it at the bar. And the only time they would have ever heard it was us playing it that night. So it seems to resonate. So the problem we've got now is we've got to come up with another Pissed Off and Married. It's because the other songs that we do seem to challenge people on a different level, but don't seem to resonate with them the same way that song does.
What about Happy and Divorced? All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got a certain ring to it. Or No Right Turn Down Marriage Road.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So how long you been married?
Me?
Yeah.
About 10 years.
Oh,
I'm 10 years happily married if my wife's listening, by the way.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wouldn't have it any other way, but it doesn't stop me as an artist looking at other people around me to see what I can see.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to look too far to see that most people are pissed off and married.
Actually, honey, I just sing it. Dino wrote the lyrics for this. I just sing it.
Yeah. That's been my alibi, but it's not cutting it, And it did cause me some issues there, but I said you can't. Says I sing to my wife, you can't sing every song about endlessly being in love and looking into each other's eyes. It gets boring after a while.
Yeah.
It's a love song. If you listen to it, it's a love song.
Exactly.
In the second part of the song, you're back up and going again, mate.
Yeah, I got myself a new woman.
Yeah, and it's great to be in a club. You're playing that song, and you've got every person there fist pumping the air and relating to it. And what we hear is from the kids that like it, the teenagers. They tell us because they're thinking of their parents, what they see around them, people in conflict in marriage. And as Dino said, is all the women, we thought they wouldn't like it at first, think it was misogynist or something like that, but that's not the case. Is they actually relate to it and say, that's my relationship.
Is there a big punk rock scene in Melbourne?
No, I'd say not. I'd say where we fit in with the bands that we've played with, we are really different to them, and we do have that punk influence on us, definitely. And when we're playing live, a lot of the bands here are really stuck in like a grunge era. They all look like carbon copied the same, and everyone just stands there strumming. I'm sure you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
and it look like we all like grunge music, but it gets boring after a while if you've got 5 bands playing the same stuff. There's no movement, there's no anything. So where we come from is like more of I don't know, like anger or just something, like we don't want to just sit there and be bored and watch life go by. And so we draw from different influences.
I think the definition of punk music from guys our age and what kids call punk music today, to me, is just a pop song. I think a lot of the punk music now has lost its edge and its anger, and just do it yourself. It's too polished for the bands that I see around now.
Right, yeah, it's more like Green Day is what we see. There's like endless lines of people trying to sound like that.
Yes. Was it there was a band called, was the Weirdos from Australia?
I'm not familiar with them.
Okay.
Not Weirdos, no.
I'm thinking of a different band. Anyway. Oh, the Hard-Ons, Hard-Ons.
The Hard-Ons, yeah. Dino likes it.
Terrific band, mate. I used to see them every weekend as a younger man.
Where are they from in Australia?
Was Sydney.
Sydney, okay. There's been a lot of bands from Sydney.
Yeah, they as Alex said, in the 70s, I think the Melbourne scene was stronger, and all the bands used to come to Melbourne to get their claim to fame, and especially on a show called Countdown. And then probably in the 80s, I think it might have shifted up a little bit up to Sydney, a little bit more up there. So sort of always been a rivalry between the two towns, I would say.
Yeah, and then what happened with music after that was a lot of the bars here that introduced poker machines, like gaming machines,
right?
Which have been restricted, and the venues realised, hey, it was they could make more money by having like 20 of those in than having to pay bands and putting up with people that came and watch bands and stuff. Yeah. So a lot of the band rooms became just gambling dens, I guess, and the band scene got pushed out. Like, it used to be a fantastic music scene here, and it sort of got pushed to the edges, to the periphery. But I think the good news is that it's starting to there's green shoots starting to appear, because a lot of the bands that we're playing with, are people that want to get music that we like heard, because it's been pushed to the margins so much. And look, I hate rap, I hate pop music, I hate dance music, and I hate DJs, and that stuff's been massive here, like it has everywhere, I guess, around the world. And that's the new music for a lot of people now, and that's the music that they relate to. But thankfully, on the edges of all this, our music's sort of hung on, and people still listen to it. And I'll never ever listen to that other stuff. This is the music that we like, and what we're doing in our own little way, like a lot of other bands, is just putting our little 5 cents worth out there.
There's a radio guy that I liked. What's his name? Andrew Denton. You know that guy?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
He put out these CDs of all these bands doing weird covers.
Quirky as anything, wasn't it?
I remember Screamin' Jets doing Screamin' Jets. I like Screamin' Jets a lot. The singer's now playing in the Angels, which I think he fits the Angels pretty well. But anyway, Screamin' Jets did the song from Titanic. What was that song? My Heart Will Go On, or something like that.
Yeah.
I like that. They did it. It was good.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? It's great seeing artists do something completely different.
And the Angels did My Baby Takes the Morning Train, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember listening to you on your show years ago, talking to, I think it was Rick Brewster, guitarist from the Angels, and you were reminding him of that. I don't think he remembered, though. You were jogging his memory, and I guess there's a lot of water passed under the bridge for those guys.
I interviewed Doc Neeson a couple of times. I interviewed Bob Spencer. I interviewed Rick Brewster. And
yeah, that's actually how I first became aware of you, Michael. You did this fantastic interview with Doc Neeson. It must have been at least 10 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah,
probably longer now. It was really good, and I know he was surprised by some of your questions, how good they were. Because I read an article where he discusses your interview.
Oh, really?
A few years later with someone else, another music journalist. And they were discussing, your interview came up, and they mentioned you, and how just how impressed he was about all that.
Huh. Yeah, I was a huge fan. I thought Doc Neeson was among the best frontmen of all time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Listen to that Live Line album, and the stuff he's doing between songs is just fantastic. I'm sure he probably does it every show, but it was really entertaining. And that guy was so cool on stage.
Oh, he was amazing. It was amazing. That was the first concert I ever saw, and it was great. It left an impression on me, right, for the rest of my life. He was a fantastic performer, and they were great. Have you ever seen that video Live at Narara? You probably see it on YouTube.
What is it called?
Live at Narara.
Yes,
you've probably seen it on YouTube. The clips that they're doing in that big outdoor concert there, and that was terrific. I just like anyone that's got YouTube is look up those songs like Marseille or Take a Long Line, which is a personal favorite of mine.
Take a Long Line was the first Angel song I ever heard. They played it in Jacksonville, like the day after Bon Scott died. One of the bands I'm in, the Butlers, play Marseille. It's always a crowd favorite. And American Heartbreak actually covered Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again?
All right, yeah.
Go ahead.
We have a go at After the Rain. We play that in our live set sometimes.
That's a great tune. After the Rain's a fucking great tune. There's those. Just about every Angels album with Doc Neeson were catchy. The songs were catchy as hell.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Great guitar riffs, great solos.
Oh yes,
really well written songs.
And the production was great too, and his voice was great. The melodies were great. I was in this band Exodus, and when I had first joined that band, we recorded our album in England, and we did a show at a club. And after the show, we had a little private thing at a pub in England. And at that pub, on the video screen, they played nothing but Angel songs on the video screen. I was so happy.
Mesmerizing, isn't it?
I had never actually even seen anything. I had never even seen the Angels. I had only heard them on record, because they never. I don't think they toured the States maybe once, but I was glued to the video screen. I wasn't even talking to anybody else. I was watching Angels videos all night. It was great.
There should have been like. It's funny how the music industry works. Is like a band like that. And Rose Tattoo, for example, would just, I don't know, were they out of sync of time, or was it the management wasn't great, or they were just, were they just ahead of MTV, even though they had great videos? I mean, MTV hadn't really got going by the time they really had their big songs and videos out. What was it that why aren't they like AC/DC now? That's just, I can never understand that.
I think that Angry Anderson should be the singer for AC/DC. How great would AC/DC be with him?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, I can picture him fronting the band, because he is a great front man too. He would lead the audience because that guy is rock and roll, and I could just picture him leading AC/DC's audience into a rock and roll religious experience.
Yeah, although I've got to say, the recordings I've heard of Axl Rose I've got to give that man credit. Like, I did not think that he would suit AC/DC as well as he did. And the stuff that I heard him live was just fantastic.
I give him credit for trying, but it's not AC/DC with Axl Rose singing. I'm sorry, I can't buy.
A lot of people out here say it's not AC/DC without Bon Scott, and that's been I don't know 40 years.
Well, it's not AC/DC kind of without Malcolm, but
yeah.
Well, I put AC/DC into two bands. You got the Bon Scott era and the Brian Johnson era. To me, they're distinct, different.
Yeah, I like them both.
Bands.
I like them both, though. I have to say, I like both eras.
I like them. I like them both, but for different reasons. They're sort of, as I say, to me, the Bon Scott stuff. The early days, growing up in Melbourne, as Alex and you were saying earlier, AC/DC spent a bit of time, around St Kilda and living in the areas where we grew up in. The Bon Scott era, to me, it's down and dirty and bluesy, and it's not as polished, and I love that. But as I say, Brian Johnson come along and they did their albums, and they're good for another reason. It's not as I say, to me, it's a different era, but still great albums and great bands.
Yeah, they went from a great rock and roll pub band to now they're a stadium arena rock. But they were still great. I can't buy into the third era being Axl Rose. I can't. Sorry, I just can't. And what about? I heard that Malcolm is in a nursing home, and his wife has the money to. This could be just hearsay, but there might be a rift between the two families because the wife put him in a nursing home when they have the money to have 24-hour support for Malcolm to be living at home. It's really sad about Malcolm, man.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I don't really know the story. I knew he was in care, so all you can do is just wish him the best. I mean, he's left the best hard rock artifacts you could probably see over 30 years. I mean, terrific.
I saw AC/DC on their first U.S. tour opening for REO Speedwagon at the Jacksonville Coliseum.
Oh, wow, you've seen some good gigs.
And I saw them every tour after that. I saw them from their very first U.S. tour all the way through probably Flick of the Switch.
Yeah, I like that album. People hate it or don't even remember it, but I actually like that album.
You know what album I think? You know what album I think is underrated is "Fly on the Wall."
Nah, I disagree with you there. I think
I love that album, man.
I hate that one.
Well, I'm just trying to think, Alex. What's that riff I normally warm up with? That's off the Fly Off the Wall album.
Yeah, there is actually. That's funny. Yeah.
What, Sink the Pink?
The album isn't as bad as what you think. When you go back and listen to it, it still holds up today, I reckon.
Go back and give it a new listen. The production's not great, but the songs are
the vocals,
good, man.
The production of the vocals terrible, I think.
And there's some videos of that album. The videos for that album are good, man. There's like in this pool hall.
They took that.
The girl dancing.
They took that off a Mortine, which was a fly spray ad out here, which used to have this thing called Louis the Fly.
Huh.
And remember that fly thing in there, or mosquito, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
That's taken out of an advert that used to be on here when we were kids, and they put it into the videos.
I did not know
because that was an actual character. Well, you've sort of taken liberty to borrow it, I think. Is probably the best way of putting that. Hey, you were in Exodus. Are you a thrash man, Michael, or where do you live in?
I don't listen to it. I don't listen to that kind of music at all. It was fun to play.
Was it? Yeah, it was a paycheck.
No, it wasn't It wasn't a great paycheck. I had a great time. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But it's not the kind of music I listen to. I was in a punk rock band called Stevie Stiletto, and we had just broken up. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, this band Exodus is looking for a bass player." So I knew nothing about the band other than I had heard of them, and I just learned the songs and went to audition and got the gig. But I wasn't really a big thrash fan, but I really, really enjoyed playing. It was a lot of fun.
What was the subculture like? I mean, obviously it was a little bit different from what you've been playing in before in the punk. Did you notice that the fans or anything were different? Or, because they were a huge name, weren't they?
Well, we played bigger gigs. That was fun. But it was fun. I had a great time. The metal fans. I played for punk rock fans, but before that. But I had a good time. Everybody in the band was really cool. I got along really good with everybody and had a blast. So I have nothing bad to say about it.
Did you play Jet Boy after that?
My biggest memory of Exodus.
What's that?
Sorry, I was going to say my biggest memory of Exodus back here in Australia was in the mid '80s when the music scene from America were getting a lot of the Van Halens and the hair metal bands were starting to come through, and I got a bootleg video of Exodus, Slayer, and maybe Venom or some other band. I can't remember the third band from 1985 at Studio 54.
That's right. That's the Combat. That is the Combat. Combat Records put that out. That's great. That's when I first saw Exodus 2. Was on that Studio 54.
That was. But back then out here to get that, this is pre-internet days, so you had a copy of a copy of a copy, and
exactly.
The old VHS.
Yeah.
That was very wavy.
That thing was very.
We put it on, and we put it on, and all I remember thinking, this is as I say, the music was getting a little bit stale with a few of those American bands, and I liked that it was mixing the hard rock, the guitars,
and
with
punk.
the punk attitude I felt that it had,
That's
and.
Right.
Yeah, I remember seeing Slayer, and I think it was Kerry King had this wristband on with those big spikes.
That's
and,
right, yeah.
That ticked all my boxes.
And Exodus played Piranha. This a song ain't about no fish or something like that. It was great.
Yeah, it ain't about no swordfish.
That's right.
It's a piranha or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, no, that Paul Baloff or whatever his name was, his voice was Yeah, no, it was a unique voice, but I still remember it to this day. That was a long time ago. But as I say, is growing up in Australia to get footage like that was very rare. You know, it was sort of bootleg and passed on.
Yep.
And yeah, to see those guys in Slayer just opened up a whole new world out here for people like me. We're just like, you know, this is what we need to get more. And you know, it took probably 3 or 4 years till you started seeing. You know, there's a couple of bands back in the day playing thrash around the local scene and things like that, but took a few years, and you know, until Metallica sort of broke through, and then everyone started trying to copy that sort of style.
Yeah. Anyway, my point is, I don't really listen to that kind of music too much. I have nothing against it, but it's really fun to play. It's actually really easy. It was really easy for me to play, and consequently, it was so easy that I could jump around the stage and you know, rock out on stage and go crazy on stage. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. And yeah,
What about Jet Boy? How did Jet Boy come about? Like, that was obviously after Exodus, was it?
Yeah, but I wasn't on any Jet Boy album. Jet Boy was in the hair metal thing, was in that scene. That was way before I got in Jet Boy. I played in a band called American Heartbreak with Billy Rowe, who was formerly in Jet Boy. Jet Boy had broken up, and I was in a band with Billy Rowe called American Heartbreak. And after American Heartbreak, he reformed Jet Boy and asked if I wanted to be in the reformed version of Jet Boy. And I actually got kicked out of Jet Boy on my podcast.
How did that happen? Was that misinterpreted humor, or was the question too tough?
We opened up for Alice Cooper in San Francisco, and I'm a huge Alice Cooper fanatic, at least of early Alice Cooper stuff. And I was backstage going through Alice Cooper's props, you know, geeking out on the props, sitting on the wheelchair and holding Cold Ethel in my hand to get a picture take. And I got caught, and I kind of got a talking to by Alice Cooper's management, and they got a talk, and then Jet Boy's management got a talking to because I was doing that, and one thing led to another, and
you weren't pissing in the Kool-Aid or something, were you? It was a bit of a joke.
No, I wasn't sabotaging anything of Alice Cooper. I was just a super fanboy. Could not believe that I was looking at all these famous stage props of Alice Cooper. And I got caught and got into a lot of trouble, and then something happened. They decided that there were going to be some new rules in the band and that kind of stuff. And I talked about the new rules on my podcast, and they didn't like that too much, and so they kicked me out of the band. So
how'd you take that?
Well, it was made for a good podcast.
Yeah, sure.
But I still play in a band with Billy. I'm in the Butlers with Billy Rowe, who's Jet Boy's actually recording a new album. They just got a record deal with Frontiers Music, so they're happy. They're recording a new album I'm not in the band, but I play. But Billy's in the Butlers with me. We're playing a gig on Saturday, so I still get along with the guys. You know, even though they kicked me out of the band,
do you ever bring it up, or is it one of those things that neither of you mention?
It's better left unsaid.
Yeah, you sort of look at each other sideways.
Not really. I don't care. I mean, I think they in their hearts they thought that I really didn't respect the music of Jet Boy, because I used to kind of a little bit make fun of them a little bit. I called them the Jet Boys, and just in good fun. I liked playing the music. Just hair metal kind of wasn't really my scene, although I liked their songs. I don't know. They thought maybe I didn't respect the music as much as I let on. So,
what were the fans like? The difference between them and the thrash fans and the punk fans you'd had before that? Was that? I mean, because you're moving around camps there, so to speak, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess the thrash fans wouldn't like it if somebody in Exodus was in Jet Boy, but it was all rock and roll with me. I just like playing on stage. The fans were. I guess there really wasn't that much a difference in the fans, to be honest with you. They were just, by the time I was in Jet Boy, you could like both kinds of music. It wasn't you either like hair metal or you like thrash.
Yeah.
That was way earlier than before when all that shit was happening. I was in a punk rock band, and I was oblivious to all of that.
Yeah.
I think ultimately at the end of the day, the music we do, we just play whatever we bloody want. You know, some of it's
Exactly.
would be classed as classic rock. You know, we do some Angels in there. We got some punk in there. We got all sorts of stuff. We just do what we enjoy doing and let the rest worry about it.
That's kind of the way it should be. Just play what you want, and I think that's the way most people really are now. But there are some people, you can't like this kind of music. But for the most part, it's all merged into rock and roll.
Yeah, it's like a blender now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that band, the Foo Fighters, will have punk rock riffs, and then they'll go into pop and whatever. Although I'm not a Foo Fighters fan, I don't want to get into a Foo Fighters discussion, but a lot of bands are like that.
Yeah, I mean, like Foo Fighters is interesting. I was thinking the other day, I've seen them live, and they're good in that, but it's starting to become very repetitious.
I'm not a fan.
I think they're trying to find new ways to try and give themselves credibility to make it interesting, like they're doing all these different things. So it's time for new music to come through.
Yeah, Foo Fighters are kind of like the go-to rock band.
Yeah, they're sort of like what's that band from Canada that everyone loves? It's poppy rock. What's their name?
Rush? No.
No, modern day.
No, you're talking about the guy that the Paddle Pop Line.
Yeah, well, what's that band? Yeah, so they're like one up from them, aren't they? So
I don't know who you're talking about, so I don't know.
I can't
think
their name. Stupid name.
In Melbourne, we've got a radio station here that I keep joking with Alex. They seem to play Foo Fighters on high rotation every day. You hear at least guaranteed to hear a song every hour. And I sort of said, if the Foo Fighters ever break up, I'll have to shut the radio station down because they have nothing left to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but with those stations, the thing is they play the same song by the same artist all the time. Like it's the artist must be really frustrated because they might have a great repertoire of songs and it's always the same bloody damn songs.
Yeah.
It's so boring as a listener.
That's why I don't really listen to music radio stations. So I'm kind of out of touch with that. I would kind of like to change your mind about Fly on the Wall, Alex.
Well, Dino actually plays one in rehearsal. What's that song you're playing? Is
Shake Your Foundations? Sink the Pink?
No, what's Sink the Pink. I often do, that's one of my warm-up riffs, Sink the Pink. And,
he was playing
every time I play it, people actually who haven't heard it for a long, long time always go, "Oh, that's a good riff. I know that song." And they put their finger on it.
Listen to this. Yeah, listen. How could you not like that? Come on, that's great, man. That's great.
Yeah, look, Ashley, I was wrong.
There you go. Thank you. I actually
Dino played last time you played it. We were in the rehearsal studio and there was a bang on the door, and so we sort of stopped and went over and opened the door. And this guy said, "I got to come in." He goes, "That song you're playing. I just want to say you're a great guitarist. You got a great tone, man. What's that song?" And he said, "Oh, it's an AC/DC one." The guy goes, "Oh, I don't know, but I love it. I could hear it in the next room. I just had to come in." And so I think Dino's combination, his SG is Hughes Kettner, his EVH box on that song. Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Are you playing Eddie Van Halen head?
I've got the cabinet. I'm using the cab at the moment.
Oh, what is the head?
Got a Hughes and Kettner head at the moment. I'm playing through.
Okay, that's one that lights up, right?
Correct.
Those are cool. They look cool. I don't know how they sound.
I've got the EVH head as well, but for what we're doing, it's the Hughes and Kettner does what I need it to do.
I think if somebody covered Sink the Pink, they might have a hit song with that because nobody knows that that's an AC/DC song. It's such a great tune.
There you go, Alex. We might have to do it.
We might have to. We have to do it.
A lot of great songs in that album, man. "Shake Your Foundations" is a great tune. "Danger's a great tune. "Hell or High Water" is a great tune. "Fly on the Wall" is a great tune. It's one of their better albums.
Okay, I'll give it.
As you said
I'll
earlier,
give it a go.
The production. It's the drums. Something about the drums doesn't do it for me. I think there's something in there. They need to go back and redo it.
They should remaster
great songs, but something
remix
on that.
it.
Yeah. Maybe remaster. That's what it maybe was lacking. Maybe they can get Mutt Lang back.
And his vocals are a little bit buried in the mix, if I remember right. But still,
Yeah,
still a
it's
good
something
album.
about the vocals. It just wasn't. It wasn't is they changed that because when they came back with Who Made Who on that next EP or whatever it was, they changed things around again. I think they might have got Banda and Young back in to try and resurrect things at that point.
Yeah, maybe so. George Young's always been involved. Maybe he wasn't involved during Fly on the Wall. I don't know.
No, he wasn't. But the next thing he was, they got him back in.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I'm glad I changed your mind, Alex.
Yeah. I'll give it a listen. I'll listen to I'll give it a little listen.
Yeah, it's a good album. I actually did a classic albums revisited on that album because to change people's mind. Because a friend of the show, this guy who plays in this band Torpedo Head, Sven, that's one of his favorite AC/DC albums. So he asked me if he could come on and convince people that that's a great album, and he convinced me, although he didn't have to convince me because I already knew.
Yeah, well, I own it, so they can't be upset at me. They got their 2 cents royalty from me.
They got it from me too. I have it on vinyl. I think I got it when it came out.
Yeah, AC/DC is one of those bands that made the money twice because everyone bought it on vinyl, and then CDs came along. Everyone bought it on CDs, and I guess since then, there's been a lot of downloads take place.
Exactly. I don't think.
And then they double dipped again, Alex, with people like us that then got the American copies of the CDs because
that's true. Yeah,
that's right.
Michael would be like that too because I'm sure he used to get imports and stuff as well, and you felt really special when you used to get a CD that had an import sticker or something different about it. Yeah, I used to get the Japanese ones as well.
Well, High Voltage here, I think it was the American version of High Voltage was a compilation of 2 albums, just like the same way the first Angel City album when the Angels whatever. When Angel City's first album came out, Face to Face,
and No Exit,
it was a combination of 2 albums as well.
Yeah, well, I remember the first time I went to America. I went into Tower Records, I think it was then, and I bought all the AC/DC CDs because they were different. And I had the same songs. I already owned them all, but just the packaging was different. The order was different. The songs. Yeah. That was it was just a great experience. I guess that's being a real fan, isn't it?
Yep. Like I said, when I was in Jacksonville, Florida is the city that broke Australian bands in the United States.
Why was that?
I don't know. It talks about it in that Sherrill book, as a matter of fact. About this DJ in Jacksonville. There was one DJ in Jacksonville, Florida, who championed Australian bands. Bill Bart, I don't remember what his name was. I tried to get him on my show because I found him on Facebook, and he wouldn't come on for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe he got fired from the DJ job and was bitter about it or something. But this one DJ...
Maybe he did his homework and knew your reputation.
Maybe. I don't know. I used to call that guy and request bands all the time and disguise my voice. I would call like 20 times a day and disguise my voice different every time. But yeah, anyway, this one guy, I tried to get him on the show. This one guy was responsible for he played the shit out of all these Australian bands. He played the Skyhooks, he played Angels, he played AC/DC, he played, I think he might have even played Divinals. That might have been actually before Divinals, but all the Australian bands, Rose Tattoo he played.
Midnight Oil, Cold Chisel.
I think that was, no, he didn't, I don't remember hearing any of that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
How big were Rose Tattoo over there? Because
I'm a
huge Rose Tattoo fan.
They were not very big, but they were one of my favorites. I had Angry Anderson on the show too. That guy was really nice guy, and I love that man. When he dies, I'll probably cry.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were. I mean, again, that's another band. You think, why weren't they massive?
I think I did the last interview ever with Peter Wells.
I listened to that one too. That was really great. That was a really great interview.
I could not understand a word he said.
What was really good about those interviews? I mean, you're going back like a decade. I'm sure I was listening to those like 10 or 12 years ago or so.
I had this
guy. They were really good
sorry to interrupt. I had this guy, Shane, who produced my show. He lived in Australia. I think he lived in Melbourne, as a matter of fact. And he got me all these Australian guys to come on the show. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, it was fantastic you got them because, I was searching the internet and Rock and Roll Geek show, Michael Butler kept coming up with these fantastic interviews. I've listened to them all over the years.
Well, thanks.
I've loved them. And the questions that you asked, not pissing in your pocket here, but the questions you asked, right, is a lot of people could misinterpret because you ask the questions that other people wouldn't. Like you said to Pete Wells, do you like to smoke weed?
Oh, really? Did I say that?
He had a little bit of the paranoia because it was all that, because there's just that environment. And you ask these great questions to people, Doc Neeson, like, what's the matter with you and John Brewster and stuff like that. And people, that don't know their music as granular as you do and aren't a fan of it, would never know that level of complexity. And B, they would never attempt to ask those questions. So that's it makes it interesting for a fan like us or like Dino or other people listening to this show are obviously attracted because they don't want to hear that vanilla, everything's fantastic and nice, because it's not the sort of world we tend to live in.
I just asked things that I wanted to know. I interviewed Chrissy Amphlett as well. I interviewed Chrissy Amphlett and Mark McEntee at different times when they were broken up. Before I don't know if you're a Divinals fan.
Yeah, I love them.
I interviewed them at separate times before they reunited, and that was I love Chrissy Amphlett so much, man. And
she's dead now, you know that.
Yeah, oh yes, I know. I cried. Yeah. I cried when she died. I really cried hard when she died. I love that.
Yeah,
woman.
I read her autobiography. It was really interesting.
Her book is great. It's a great book. Great book. She was the Angry Anderson. She was the female Angry Anderson, I thought.
Yeah.
True original.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mark McEntee, way underrated guitar player. That guy was a fucking ripping guitar player.
Yeah, I agree. And also, you interviewed the producer of those guys. What's his name again? And he did the Angel stuff as well. God, what was his name? That was an interesting interview because he mentioned on there how he got the Kiss Alive 3 stuff.
He did,
and doing a bit of doctoring on it.
You talking about the engineer or the producer? The guy who did
What's his name again? Oh God, I can't think of his name.
Not Mike Fraser.
Mark Opitz.
Mark Opitz. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he talked about mic placement, which I thought was really cool. He couldn't believe anybody wanted to talk about microphone placement, but I really enjoyed that.
That was really good. I remember you pressed him what he was doing. He'd done some Kiss Alive stuff. And like a lot of those live albums, what's the only thing that's live about it? Probably the hand clapping.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He was responsible for he was known for that. What I heard was that guy, the AC/DC guitar tones was on record was his doing. He had like a signature guitar tones.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've also heard from the other parties though that they don't say that. They say that there's two views on that.
Yeah. He didn't agree with it, but he told me it was all in the mic placement. And he talked about where he put the mics.
Now he'd be a great one to produce our song, Dino. We've got Mark Opitz in.
There you go.
We couldn't afford him, but we could get him in or get Bob Spencer in because he's in. I think Bob Spencer's in Melbourne, and he's kicking around still playing and does a little bit of producing.
Yeah, he had a solo album came out a couple of years ago. Bob Spencer. I only heard the one song.
He's still kicking around, but it's interesting because I read an article just recently talking about mic placing for the most boring subject in the world, but they put down the early Iron Maiden albums, and a lot of the sound was credited to the type of mic they used, which I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't SM57 or 58, but also the distance away from the cabinet, which just gave it the first album, that really rough, bitey edge that it had, and they put that down to the mic placing.
It was probably a Telefunken U47.
All right. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Hey, this is what they call it, the Rock and Roll Geek Show.
I have no idea. I just know that from a Frank Zappa lyric.
Well, I think the first part was right, actually, believe it or not. But no, it's just interesting. As I say, they were it was about a foot away from the cabinet, apparently, and that's what gave it a bit of bite. Just that bit of sizzle and edge that they got on that recording.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. You guys got any gigs coming up?
Yeah, well, right now we're working on a couple of new songs. I should say probably 2.5 new songs. So we're working on those, and then once we get those, we'll record those, we'll put those out, and then we'll start doing some more gigs. The gigs have been really well received. It's funny because when you first start, you don't know if anyone's going to listen. So the first gig we played, we got there and we got very loose because I think we got there too early. And by the time that everyone said you're on, I thought, my God, I just started to feel like I'd had too many drinks. So the whole thing was a blur. I woke up in the morning like, did that really happen? And so we went over really surprisingly really well on the first gig. We thought everyone would boo and chuck things at us and hate us, but it didn't really happen. So we were a bit disappointed in a way. And we started to realise that we were different to the other bands that were playing around. And then afterwards, the other bands would come up, gravitate to us. So there was a few like late morning drinking sessions and so forth. And we started to pick up other guys. We realised they were musicians like us doing the same thing. And we played our last gig. Our bass player and drummer weren't available. So we actually got a guy in from Texas that had played in one of the support bands when we played. And he was a solo guitarist artist, I guess, from where was he? From San Antonio, Texas. And he'd stayed in touch and said he really liked the music and stuff. And so we said, look, would you like to play bass in this gig we're coming? And he was great. Like, he came and I think came to my house and we just jammed in the garage, and then we went to rehearsal studio and he played and he really added something. If you look on YouTube and you look at the gig with Pissed Off and Married and stuff, he's banging his head. He was just fantastic. And we got a drummer who's an excellent musician who he did one rehearsal with us, and I said to Dino, it takes us 6 months to learn our songs, and these guys are such good musicians, it takes them like one night. And he played the gig and he was fantastic on drums, and sort of it really it's given us a lot of confidence, because I think probably a year ago they wouldn't have come near us. And now, like, when we play a gig, because it's not like we're playing to an empty room, there's usually, if you have a look on YouTube, there's a lot of people there. And these guys loved it, because I think some of the gigs that they played, they don't get that sort of energy. They certainly don't have a whole room of people fist pumping the air to a song.
So how many originals do you guys have?
I think we've got about 9.
Oh, so you got enough. You got enough originals to play a full set now, then.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. We play a couple of covers. Like, we might drop in "Breaking the Law," "After the Rain," Ace of Spades.
We drop in sorry, Alex. We drop in a cover just as a bit of a tribute to our heroes growing up.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the way of doing it. And the 2 songs we're working on now are "Down and Out" in Collingwood, which is a suburb here in Melbourne, and it's not a negative song. It's actually meant to be positive. And then there's another one, "New Skin," because I've had some bad business dealings.
What's it called? New Skin?
New Skin, yeah. And so that's a very punky one. So
that's about bad business dealings. What does New Skin have to do with bad business? Does that an Australian?
No, well, it's like the lyrics go. I want to get rid of this old skin. I want to awaken a new skin. I want to shed this snake skin. Okay. I want to be a clean skin. All right. So it's about I've gone through a traumatic bad experience, and I want to get rid of that and start over, because you can't get stuck in a rut in a moment in life. You got to keep moving, and you could be negative and just sit in the corner and you waste your life that way, or you could try and do something out and come out fighting. So
when is the next IDunnö gig?
Well, we're looking at some gigs in December at the moment. So we play with another band called a band we picked up playing with us about 6 months ago, called Trampoline Death Tramp. They're young dudes, and they're more like a Jethro Tull band, but for some reason we sort of gel together, and they really got into the songs and stuff. And they invited us to start playing some gigs with them. So right now they're working on some more gigs for us to play with them. Sort of, I don't know why, but they're a lot younger than us, but they said, you guys that really gave us a lot of confidence, because they said, you guys are great, we love your songs and your music, and they start singing along to the songs. And so they've brought a whole lot of new, like, young guys and girls that come along to the gigs, and you can see on YouTube for yourself, they know all the words to the songs, which is just, for an original song, it's great to have, you look in the crowd and everyone's singing it. So I just put the microphone out there and they all sing the words.
So they play like Jethro Tull, so they're more prog rock.
Yeah.
They play complicated sounding stuff, and then you guys play the punk rock stuff, and those two kind of music goes well together at a gig.
Yeah, surprisingly.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're not sure why, but it does.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and it's really good. So I don't know. We'd like playing with those guys, so we'll probably play a few more gigs with them. But I've got to say, the other bands that we played at, a lot of the other bands are really exceedingly boring. And to sit there and just watch people playing like 90s grunge in 2017,
Yeah, who wants to hear? I don't know who
boring.
needs it. Who needs it?
I don't know. It's just boring. Like, it was a phase of music that was great. It was there, and it can be part of the blender stuff. But getting stuck in that, man, and seeing 5 bands in a row playing that 2017.
I don't even think it was great. What do you think of that?
Well, it's an opinion. Like, it's past, but people get stuck into it. And maybe we've got bands like the Foo Fighters to blame for that, because it's sort of, they got that lineage and people hang on to a certain era.
Yeah, if I hear the Stone Temple Pilots come on the radio, if I have the radio on and Stone Temple Pilots comes on, I'm changing the channel.
Yeah, it's just we've heard it so many times, and I think that's where traditional punk, early punk, and early metal, rock, whatever you want to call it, I guess early thrash too, there was an energy about it that sort of is not. It's not around so much now. So I guess when a band like us play it, is people like, oh, this sounds really great or really fresh or energy, but there was always that energy with that music. And like you say, like if you look at the Sex Pistols, you look at Motorhead, you look at Judas Priest, you look at Angels, bands like that at that stage, there was just a vibe that wanted to make it jump up and down and raise the fist and start pumping it.
Yeah.
And I think that's
supposed to be fun.
What I love. Yeah.
All right.
So then, we went on. We did another song, "Speck in the Universe," which you've probably got on that CD there.
Yes.
And that's a little bit different. We're combining different things, so it's less punk, probably a little bit more metal, traditional rock in it. And I think for some people, it was probably a bridge too far when we put that out, because there's a lot more going on. But I actually love the song. I love the lyrics to it and stuff. And what do you think, Dino?
Oh, look, as I say, as I said earlier, we just do what we jam around in the garage and come up with a riff or an idea, and we just go with it. And like I said, it's not about being a punk band or a metal band or a hard rock band. We just do what we want to do. And as I said, people can choose to like it, dislike it. End of the day, we don't really give a shit. We're just doing what makes us happy. We're having a bit of fun, and they can come along for the ride or not. That's their choice. Are
you guys supposed to be at work right now?
Yeah, I am. But I own the company.
You own the company, so you're allowed to take off. Does your boss, Dino, does your boss know that you're pulled over the side of the road talking on the phone?
Oh, what he doesn't know won't hurt him. Let's just say that.
All right.
I don't think you'll probably be listening to the Rock and Roll Geek Show.
Yeah, probably not. You get paid by the hour or by commission?
No. I just work for a flat rate, so yeah, it's all. I put in enough hours. I put in enough hours that I've got a few in the bank up my sleeve.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. You don't have to be at work right now. All right. Well,
I'd much rather be talking rock and roll to you than
exactly
going, process instrumentation.
Exactly. I'm still curious about what kind of instrumentation you sell.
Basically, when you have your processing plants and things like that, you have a lot of things that move around, flow, pressure. You need to open valves and have things move from A to B, and separate things in columns and stuff like that. So take off instrumentation to get in there and turn crude oil into petrol, basically.
You know how to work all that stuff, or you just know how to sell it?
No. Look, I used to. Being a true Australian, I started my working career in Australia working in a brewery. So I worked in a brewery for about 7 or 8 years. So at Foster's Lager.
So the valves on the brew tanks might be the same valves as are on a oil tanker.
Yeah, look, same brand, and the same principles go into the instrumentation. But different level of gear, but they're all closely related.
Yeah, there you go. Who knew the similarities between oil rigs and beer?
That's it. So yeah,
Michael likes his
first job here
Michael
in
likes
Australia is beer.
Michael likes his Australian beer. He likes Coopers.
Did you send me the Coopers?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, those were
See, you
good,
got
man.
so
Those
drunk
were-
you couldn't remember.
I got drunk off that shit, man. I think I drank like two, and I was pretty buzzed.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good drop, isn't it? That's my
Cooper's-
favorite Australian
It was
beer.
very good beer. That beer's long gone. That stuff's way finished. I finished that shit.
Australian beers generally, I don't think it's very good, and
All
but
we
that
have,
one,
all we
particular-
have is Foster's here. I don't think there's any other Coopers. But you sent me Coopers from. Did you send it from Australia, or did you have it sent from the United States somewhere?
Well, these days with terrorism and stuff, you can't really send things bottles overseas now. So I found a place. It was really difficult to find somewhere where we'd actually do a transaction because of credit cards in Australia. But yeah, no, it was. I found a place locally that did it that could deliver it out to you.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
think
right. I had to. They wouldn't give it to me.
You've got
'Cause
that sort of face though.
I was. I had. They said I wasn't Alex Hill, so they couldn't give me the beer.
Yeah, but you managed to convince them. So would you give them a couple? Did you?
I think I had to call the guy's boss or something. They refused to leave it for him. They refused to leave it with me. The guy wouldn't give it to me. I said, "I'll give you a tip. Just drop the beer off." Obviously, I'm of age. He goes, I'll lose my job. I said, "Come on, dude. You ain't gonna lose your job. Just say I'm Alex Hill." So I called the guy's boss and had to tell him, "Look, dude, So I didn't have to call you or something.
Yeah, no, you managed to work it out, which I'm impressed with. But it was worth it, wasn't it?
It was
sorry.
fantastic. It was great beer. I loved it. Thank you so much
When you
for
come
sending
here,
it, man.
when you come here, Dino, I'll take you out. There's some nefarious bars that you'll like here, and I guarantee you that we'll have a great night, and you'll have as much Coopers as you like.
I want to
it's-
go
it-
to Australia so bad, man. I really need to go out there. That sounds like a great place to visit. There's good
Well,
fishing.
we'll have a special barbecue for when you come out at my place,
Sounds good.
and we'll have. I'm sure you like different meats and stuff. We'll chuck a few nice steaks on there for you. Some sausages and
Oh, yeah.
all the good stuff.
Sounds good.
And we'll wash it down with copious amounts of Coopers.
That sounds. I'll get wasted. I'm a lightweight. Two Coopers. I'm on the floor probably.
Nice.
All right. So thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. You want to close out with a I don't know song?
Yeah, if we could, I think "Speck in the Universe" would be a good one. And just like I say with this song, it's different. It's not just punk or those elements of punk in it. There's a little bit more going on. And when we played this live, it goes over really well too. People think that, again, it's a bit of a negative song, but it's not. It's just like, I think at the end of the day, we're all specks in the universe.
So clearly you can tell that the guys in IDunnö are cool dudes. So go find IDunnö. Australian guy. Every Australian person I've ever met has been a stand-up guy. I have to say that. Is everybody in Australia a cool dude, or a cool girl, or a cool person? I should say.
Well, not if they're pissed off and married.
Eh, I bet your wife's a nice woman.
She's a lovely woman.
You have
I'm
kids?
very, very happily married.
You have kids too, right?
Yeah, I've got a 14-year-old son called Luke, and he's right into the same music we love. He loves punk, he loves rock, he loves metal, and he's just learning the bass, and he's right into stuff. And I've got a 3-year-old daughter who's like, there's a movie at the moment called Boss Baby, and she sort of runs the household. She tells me what's going on, what I can do and can't do.
You got to turn
3
your
years old.
son on to the Descendants.
The Descendants?
Yes.
What's that?
You never heard the band The Descendants?
No.
Oh, you got to listen to the Descendants. They are the one of the greatest punk rock bands of all time. There would be no Green Day or Blink-182 if there was not the Descendants.
Yeah, no, I've heard of them, but I'm not that familiar with their stuff, so I'll have to go and check it out.
Go look for
likewise.
Look for the Descendants. You will love them. That's a little tech tip from Michael Butler, your friend Michael Butler. All right.
Okay. Consider it done.
So
Alex, mate.
Alex and Dino, thank you for coming on. How can we find before we play Speck in the Universe? How can we find IDunnö?
Okay, so we got a website which is idunno.band, we're all over YouTube like a cheap suit. And Facebook, you can find us as well. So just join up with us on Facebook. But there's quite a few videos from our gigs, and like we are a live band. You'll see there's an energy there, and it's if you're hearing this in Australia, make sure you come to one of our gigs. Come up, say hello, have a beer with us before or after the gig, because we drink before and after, being the professionals we are. And if you're in America, we'd love to one day, or somewhere else in the world, come and rock a venue near you. Who knows?
And tell the guys in IDunnö that you heard them on the Rock and Roll Geek Show, so they didn't think they wasted their $100 on my beer.
Yeah, and any other band, get behind Michael and invest in this. You'll have a great artifact for your websites or social media that you can play. You never get, I mean, Michael, you're so well known in sort of like our sort of community, I guess, right? And it's awesome that a great musician like you actually talk to us. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you thinking enough of me to send me a 6-pack of Coopers.
I think it was a 12-pack, wasn't it?
Oh,
Someone stole
yes,
six.
Right. It was a 12-pack. I think you're right. It was a 12-pack. I got so drunk I forgot. And B, for sending me the Angels book by Bob Yates with Rick Brewster and John Brewster. I got to read it. It's my next. I'm in the middle of the. Somebody sent me the Van Halen book, which I'm almost done, and somebody sent me a Replacements book, which I'm halfway done with. Then after that, the Angels book is on my list. Is on the next one to read. It's a thick book. It's a lot of.
It is, but remember, it's written. It's a very one-way perspective, on.
A hit piece on. It's a hit piece on Doc. I don't think Rick and Doc ever really liked each other. I think it was John John and Doc didn't get along.
Yeah, I think they clashed big time. But it was a dynamic that helped make that band what it was.
That's what makes a lot of bands really good, is that tension in the band. So all right.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on, Dino and Alex. I really appreciate it. And let's keep in touch, all right?
Yeah, looking forward to having a beer with you.
Yeah, very much. All right, here's Spec in the Universe from IDunnö. Thank you for listening, friends. rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. Find me at rockandrollgeek.com. Find me on the Facebook, R&R Geek. Find me on the Twitter, R&R Geek. Find me on the Instagram, Rock and Roll Geek, Don't Ask. And go look up IDunnö, IDunnö.band, and tell them you heard them on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. And tell them, tell them you're pissed off and married. There you go. All right. All right. Thanks a lot, you guys. Here's Spec in the Universe, the masterpiece of the IDunnö songs catalog. How's that? Does that sound like a good description?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's great.
All right. All right. Hang on while I'll say goodbye to you guys after I close out the show.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Spec in the Universe.
That sleazy slime ought to be a crime. Ain't that the truth? little speck, a dirty little speck. I'm just a little speck in the universe. I'm just a little speck, a dirty little speck. Just a little speck in the universe. I'm just a little speck, a tiny little speck. I'm just a little speck in the universe. I'm just a little speck, a dirty little speck. I'm just a little speck in the universe. Take it.
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.